Greetings, beings, and people everywhere. My name is Joelle, and I would love to welcome you to tonight's episode of the Viberarian radio show. I am here every Thursday night on the Viberarian Radio Network, which is part of Blog Talk Radio. And I am here every week on Thursday, and I am out to have conversations to discover the truth about certain things in this mysterious and unknown world that we live in. I do have a Facebook community that I would love for you to join. We call ourselves the Good Vibe Tribe. You can find me if you search for the Viberarian, and that is Viberarian. And the Viberarian community is on Facebook, also on Instagram and Twitter. I would invite you to join me there. I'm always trying to find the information that I think is going to uplift you, elevate your consciousness, raise your vibration, and just in general be very positive. Tonight you can listen live if you're online. We have a chat room going, and you're free to ask a question at any time. I will bring it into the conversation as soon as I get an opportunity. If you're on the phone line, you can call in at 646-668-8988, and you can join the conversation if you press 1 at any time so that I can know that you have a question to ask. So every week we look at, I believe that knowledge is power. And the big thing that we can do is learn more and expand our knowledge base as a way to basically improve how we perceive and receive the world around us. So much of what happens in terms of how we feel about stuff is whether we feel fearful about it, whether we feel negative response to it, and sometimes we can respond to things out of not knowing any better. So I believe that we can demystify some topics with our conversations that we have, and we can explore together. I kind of call this an adventure quest. If you know me in life, I am a librarian, and so I always have been fascinated with books and knowledge, and I read tons of things as a child. There was nothing. I am a librarian. Oh, I'm sorry. Someone, we have to have mute. If you're on the phone call, you need to mute your computer. I am getting a little bit of feedback. So I found myself reading books as a child in the library about all manner of subjects. And tonight's topic is one that I first encountered when I was probably maybe 5th or 6th grade reading books. Now, we all know that young minds are much more open to ideas, and our imagination runs wild. We can have tea parties with our imaginary friends and all manner of things that when we grow into adulthood we discard. So I believe at the time, 5th or 6th grade, I think that I had been starting to experience what I now know is astral travel or astral projection. And I remember very clearly being able to look down at myself at nighttime, or to feel myself kind of move out of what I knew to be who I was and look down at myself. Now, I didn't know what this was at the time, and then I read this book, and it scared me so much when I read it that I stopped doing my little journeys and adventures, and then as I grew into my teen years and we all get into our different kind of priorities in life, it kind of departed from me, and I actually forgot about reading that book until just last week. And a friend of mine had reached out to me and asked me, she said, what do you know about this astral projection and astral travel thing? And I said, well, that's funny you should ask, because some of the people who I've been having on my show about psychic life have talked about lucid dreaming and astral projection, and it's one of the things I kind of bookmarked because I wanted to have a conversation about it on my Thursday show. So she said to me, I'm kind of scared about that. I read this book, and I remember it was called A Stranger with My Face. And I said, oh, my gosh, that triggered the memory that I remembered that was the name of the book. So the basic plot is this young girl starts to feel a presence around her, and she is doing astral projection, and at some point this disenchanted spirit takes over her body while she has left it to go on an astral travel. As a matter of fact, I think that the spirit induced her or encouraged her to go ahead and leave the body so it could take it over, and then she was stuck looking down at herself while this spirit, who I think actually was a sister, twin sister that she didn't even know that she had, wound up inhabiting her body and basically wreaking havoc on her life until she finally was able to trick her out of her body and get herself back into it. That was the exact story that scared me to death when I was a teenager, because I thought, wait, what? You mean that can happen? Someone can take over your body? I mean, and that was it. I never really got into it again and tried to do any travel because I was just too scared about it. So tonight I want to talk about astral projection or astral travel. I also want to talk about, it's also known as out-of-body experiences, or OBEs, as you'll hear it referred to. And then I also want to get into lucid dreaming so we can figure out what the difference is between a lucid dream and astral travel. And then I want to get into the phenomenon that has also been out in popular movies and things, which is that of sleep paralysis, where you wake up, you're not quite awake, but you can't move, but you're aware that you can't move, and there are different kinds of things that people can experience that can be kind of disruptive to them. So that's where we're going to be for about the next 50 minutes or so, and I am so excited because tonight I am joined by two wonderful friends of mine and people who I highly respect, and that is Paula. Paula Gore is on the line with us this evening. You may have heard her on my Psychic Inside show a couple weeks ago. She is a singing shaman, and she is located here in the Atlanta area. Welcome, Paula, this evening. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Joelle. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. I've also got my dear friend Marcus Howell, who is a good friend and clairvoyant. He has also been on my Psychic Inside show, and as well as a couple episodes of the Viberarian show last year. Marcus, you are amazing, and I really appreciate you coming on tonight as well. Thank you.
Oh, you're awesome. Thank you, Joelle. And hello, Paula.
Hey, Marcus. Glad to join you tonight. Should be a good time.
So let me ask, I know this is a great topic. So, I mean,
yeah,
as I was describing that, I know. So what made you giggle, Marcus, as I was describing tonight's topic?
I felt it. I don't know what it was. It was Paula and you, and it's like almost, I guess, the excitement. And, maybe that's a sign of what's to come. It was just a good feeling, and I just felt like giggling. I felt you guys were giggling, too, and maybe you were hiding it better than I was.
Well, do you have any personal experience that, as I was talking about that whole...
I want to jump right in. I just
okay,
jump right in. I have something around all of these, but not necessarily in the ways that you think. In terms of the topic, astral travel, I shared last week that I had a lot of near-death experiences, and my experience in terms of the astral plane is not really dwelling in it or being in it, but the first time I remember really specifically, Jesus actually led me from my body to the light, and I remember very specifically as we were passing through the astral plane, and I remember looking around and seeing all these souls, and they were like reaching out to me, and Jesus called back to me, "Don't look at them." He said, "Look at the light. Don't look at them." And it's like, so I did what he said, and I ascended. But I could tell that it was a trap. I mean, it's totally a trap. And that I could have gotten stuck there in the astral plane, because often when people go through trauma, and if they're still in their body, they get dissociated, leave their body, and then visit other disheartening or in very difficult arenas where there are trapped souls, and these souls are trapped because they have demonic entities attached to them, and they have that's the nature of trauma. Trauma can cause someone to have entities attached to them, and then they get stuck in the trauma loop. I know I'm going off on a tangent here, but anyway, my experience of the astral plane is actually I don't want to be there. And I am not necessarily, I wouldn't say I'm not someone when I meditate, I do not try to meditate on this. So I just wanted to jump in and talk about this aspect of the astral plane because it is a mixed bag. It's not all bad. There are many spiritual practices where you are astral traveling and you are having amazing experiences. But it also is it's the web around the planet. It's the stuck consciousness around the planet as well, and it is a fourth dimensional energy. So that's
I was going to ask you what is as you understand it. How would you then re-describe the astral plane?
How I would describe the astral plane is it is a web around the planet, and there are discarnates or stuck souls that are trapped in this dimension. Children often, when they have nightmares, because they're so open, what they are experiencing actually is beings from this astral plane. As they leave their body, they are experiencing beings from this dimension. And so parents often are not concerned. They dismiss it. But children are actually experiencing the astral plane with these nightmares that they talk about. This is very real for children, the astral plane.
Okay. And Marcus, what is your understanding and experience with the astral plane?
With me, it's a little different. I definitely understand what she's saying, and I guess my experiences and how I learned how to utilize my gift, I used to do a lot of meditating. I probably need to do a lot more. And when I would meditate, I would literally leave my body and travel up. And I've always had this thing of flying. All my life has been I can fly. So whatever I'm doing, whenever I'm dreaming, and astral planning just helped it out, I would take off and leave my body, look at myself as I float up and go through the ceiling, and take off and go somewhere. I would go across the country, out over the ocean, and that was just my experience. And I never had an issue with getting back to my body. My situation was a little different because a lot of times as a medium, whenever I want to connect with someone who's crossed over, I imagine myself leaving my body as I'm sitting there talking to the person. And I literally, and this is how it works for me, this is just me and my thing, but I literally astral plane myself up to the gates of heaven, and I asked the guards standing there, who are like 10 times my size, to please allow me to speak to such and such or whatever. And once that person comes through the gate, I ask them to follow me back, and then I start communicating with the person I'm speaking with. And a lot of times when I do that, I take the time, I meditate, I do it right, I have a really, really, really good reading because I feel like I brought that person's energy, spirit, there to have the conversation. And that's how I end up saying some things on the way. Like, well, how'd you know that? And I'm like, I don't know. It didn't come from me. It's definitely the gift. So astral planing to me is a little different. However, I totally understand it. I've even read up on some articles on how they say the government use people who can astral plane to find terrorists and do this stuff like that, and they always want to know how did they find this person and this, that, and the other. I think it's a lot of validity to it. It's a very interesting situation, and it's something worth looking into and investigating. If you don't know anything about it, I would say definitely look it up. But that's my experience with it. It's something that is spiritual. You're literally using senses that you don't normally use to do it. And to me, it's an experience because I end up learning. The more and more I meditate, the more and more I try to astral plane. And I believe when we sleep at night, our spirits literally, rise up from our bodies to communicate with our spirit guides, our angels, and the people that guide us, because that's how we get fed spiritually. We learn things and we grow. And that's how your gifts grow as well, because I think you have to communicate with your spirit and your spirit guides, and it's not always, hey, come talk to me. I think when your mind is relaxed and spiritually you're relaxed, your spirit doesn't sleep, which is probably why I don't sleep that often, because I'm usually up and I might sleep 3 to 4 hours a night on average. And I think that's probably why, because I'm always receiving, I'm always open to everything, and I have to learn to shut it off so I can get some rest. You know what I'm saying?
Marcus, you are extremely gifted, and I just want to make this comment. You have had very specific training in past lives to be able to do what you're doing now, and how this is a gift for you. You have had some different incarnations, looks like specifically a Tibetan monk, and several lifetimes as a Tibetan monk, learning this specific way to meditate. So I'm glad that you're on the show tonight, and that you're able to share this.
I'm glad you said that.
This is amazing.
Because, to me, it's something I've always thought of. I've never gotten with anyone before who specialized in past lives, and I've always wanted to know about myself and past lives and everything. And one of the things I've always felt was that I've learned to meditate, and I've learned to train my spirit and brain to do certain things. So I think you hit the nail on the head with that, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
I think that the way that you, I just want to keep going here, the way that you describe this and how easy it is for you to access it, you probably would be a very good teacher, and possibly could be leading some groups in this specific way of meditating, because people need someone like you to be able to guide them in this specific meditation. And also because it's like you have this pathway, you came in with it already, your mind trained in this way, and so it's easy for you to access now. And so for you to teach this in the future, and this is I'm encouraging you to do this and think about this. You will help others be able to access it. It's like a Reiki master giving Reiki to someone. As they come to your class, they also will be able to access these realms much more easily, and not be dipping into lower level vibrations that some people can go into. So I just want to encourage you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I do want to teach. Anything I learn, I do not mind sharing and teaching. I've never had the opportunity to do that, but that's something that I'm definitely interested in. And that's with any gift that I have. Being clairvoyant is the main, but I don't mind sharing anything I learn.
Well, let me just insert here and do a shameless plug for the Viberarian and the Viberary. As you both know, this radio show and the events that I'm having in the Atlanta area are all part of the spreading of knowledge that each of us have. And I believe that it's part of my mission to provide a platform for us all to share our wisdom. So I am going to be offering classes that you can come to the Viberary either virtually or in person in the Atlanta area. So, Marcus, I will be reaching out to you to go
I'm
ahead
ready.
and get one of your classes scheduled. So this is perfect. Now, I love this show. This is the perfect kind of convergence of information. I do have several callers who are on the line listening, so if anyone has any questions, go ahead and hit your 1 key on your phone, and I'll bring you on to try to get your question asked. But I also wanted to back up a little bit then and say that, so as I understand astral travel as a concept, that a part of your soul self or higher consciousness would be able to leave, in an aware state, leave your physical body, and you always hear of this concept of the silver cord that connects then your soul self and your body self to each other, and that is the unbreakable bond between those two portions of yourself. Now, is that how both of you understand the connection of soul self? And before you answer, let me also interject that I do know, Paula, we will come back to the subject of walk-ins in a few minutes once we got to cover this initial area. So is there a silver cord? Do you see it? Do you experience it? How do you know where your home is? Is it gravity?
Well, I can answer that easily. I've never heard of a silver cord. I've never experienced it. I've always, even as a kid, had a great sense of direction. And I just mentally, once I see something and see what direction or where I am, I tend to know which way to go and which way to travel to get back to myself. I don't think I've ever heard about a silver cord before. It's interesting that you said that, actually, because I've never heard that, but that would be a really good thing to have, I guess, to find your way back.
I am aware of my silver cord and have been since I got turned on to energy work in the 90s, and it's I'm aware of it more so from energy work. So I don't astral travel, so I don't necessarily work with it from that standpoint. I just work with it in terms of my energy field. And the silver cord, in terms of energy work, it's like I'm dealing more with like attachments to the silver cord or something pulling on the silver cord, as opposed to using as it. I'm using it for different purposes, but yes, I do relate to the silver cord, is what I want to say. Use it more for energy work.
Okay.
And in my energy work, and also other people's silver cord as I work on them and helping that be clearer, because it can have attachments to the silver cord.
Okay.
Lower level energy attachments. So
let's talk for a little bit then about the beings that are in the astral plane. And one of the things that I do want to do is demystify things so that there is not fear, but that people have a healthy respect for something if they are involving themselves in it. So I guess it's a finely nuanced kind of conversation. Because some of the things that we've talked about so far could certainly make a person say, oh, I don't want to do that, you know. So, Marcus, like, what are your experiences of the energy in the astral plane? I know you said you go talk to.
Yeah, it's a different type of feeling. A lot of times when I'm not even paying attention, or a lot of times during my readings, I get this flow of electricity that kind of flows from my head. And it's more like the back of my head. It starts there, and it shoots down my body through my arms and legs and everything, and then back up to my head. And a lot of times whenever I, meditate in astral plane and leave myself, it's like I'm surrounded by that. I feel it from the tips of my fingers to the top of my shoulders and everything, and I feel like it's around me, almost like a force field. And I'm sort of a big kid, I grew up on X-Men and comic books and all of that stuff, and so that just it fit me to the point where I understood everything so clear, and I knew what to do with it when I got it, and I knew what to say to myself. Oh, this is just my energy field, and nothing can get through it. I can't be harmed. A lot of times when you feel like you're in a place where you're not safe, or there's a negative energy or something that you feel might try to jump on you, especially if you're clairsentient like me, I tend to extend that field out to protect myself because, number one, I have to get back to my body, and two, I don't want anything following me or getting into my, spirit trying to mess with me. I've been fearful before around some people in some places where I extended it out automatically, and it was like, whether I was astral planing or not, I want to protect myself and even extend it out to protect the ones around me. So energy plays a big part of that, and I'm to the point now, even though it feels like electricity, and you know how electricity and water don't mix, I can create this energy field inside a swimming pool or a bathtub, with water, now to the point where water doesn't even affect it. And it's something I've I guess practiced for a long time, and that's why I'm able to do it. Maybe some people can hook me up to a machine or something to see what it is. I have no idea, but it's something to me that's definitely strong. I put it in my fingertips and prayed for people and seen some healing happen. So it's something there about it. I don't quite understand it all the way, but it's definitely something about protection to me with energy.
Yes, you have a lot of gold light around you as you're talking. You work with a lot of gold light. Gold is spiritual attainment, and it's the highest vibrational energy that you're working with.
Wow. And there's a lot
now,
of
Paula,
a lot I still don't know. Yeah.
We're learning together, and every mystery we approach unlocks another mystery, and I'm just loving it. I'm having a big smile on my face right now. So,
me too.
Now, Paula, you shared your experience was a bit more cautious when one hears your story. So, on the astral realm,
I'm doing something completely different. He is working from a place of meditation, and my experiences are, I'm in a whole nother a realm with it. I'm a near deather, so I'm dealing with life and death. I'm when I left, it's not like I've got some like the silver cord is attached. I am gone. I am truly dead for minutes. You know what I'm saying? It's like I'm not connected. And so there's a difference there when you have life force in your body and when you don't. You see what I'm saying? It's like when you have life force in your body, that then basically your silver cord is attached. There's still some consciousness that is functioning in your body. For me, I was gone, completely gone, and so it's a different reality once you're in transition. I'm literally in transition, and I'm on my way to the other side. I'm on my way to heaven, and so that's the difference between what he's experiencing and then being near deather. It's a whole nother ball game.
Yeah.
Because then then it becomes it is sort of life or death as well for my soul too. It's like once you're in transition, and this is, I know isn't quite the topic that we are talking about, because you're wanting to bring some guidance to astral travel, which I think Marcus is a great example of, and I'm sort of coming from a different perspective of being a near-deather, and I'm dealing with life or death, and life or death also as I am in transition and going to heaven, because it is easy to get caught up in, get into what is around you as you're going to the light. And we've all heard this. It's like focus on the light when you go to the light, and it's true. You really want to, because the other alternative is the astral plane, which in the Greek mythology is called Hades. That's Hades. Hades is the astral plane. And Hades, this could be hell. I mean, this could be another. This is in some ways, it is a living hell for those souls, discarnates that are they're lost, they're stuck, they don't know how to get out, and the remedy for these lost souls that are on the trapped in the astral plane around the earth are mediums who are in the body, and any medium who has an encounter with a discarnate, it really is up to us to send them to the light and tell them to go to the light. Exactly. And there are many, many different ways to assist them and do this, as there are many different types of mediums and the different gifts that we have. But basically, we all do have a responsibility, if we are a medium, to assist those discarnates and tell them to go to the light. And depending on how much trauma they have is sort of how stuck they are, and possibly have demonic attachments, which makes it difficult. And that's a whole nother thing we could get into that I could help with down the road. We can have a whole nother conversation about how to help this body of beings that are out there. That would definitely be a good topic for maybe next time.
Yeah, it's quite intriguing as you're talking. So, I mean, what I'm hearing then is a difference, say, for you, Marcus, that sometimes you would be, if you're going up to heaven and, speaking, bringing presences and with you to meet with loved ones, that would not be the discarnate. But a discarnate would be one that kind of just would be in your presence trying to get your attention, because, like, we see it on TV shows all the time. I think there was that whole show Medium, where she would start to see these ghosts around, see clairvoyant images and pictures, and then they would all have something relating to their death that they were not in peace with. And she would have to connect them with their loved one, and once they did that, then they went into the light. So that would be two different categories of mediumship, correct, Marcus?
Yeah, you can look at it that way. There have been times when I've connected with people that have crossed over, and I went to what I consider Heaven's Gate, and no one came, but I still was able to, connect with them. And I think that's because, like Paula hit the nail on the head, there are some souls that aren't there. They're stuck in what you would call Hades. They're stuck in limbo and not quite there. Like there was someone that was murdered, and I was communicating with this person and talking to his daughter. And, I tried going to the gates and trying to get him and get his attention. I couldn't feel anything, so I just came back to her. I brought myself back to my body and started speaking to her, and he literally walked up behind me and just, I'm like, well, where did he come from? Because that's when I have to question, are you the right person? I don't know. I don't want to be communicating any wrong images. So he had to say something to me to tell her, to convince not only myself but convince her as well that I had the right person, because I don't want no other energy to come in and interfere, And that's one of those situations where you have to really stay protected, and you have to help them, as Paula said, go into the light. And you talk about something that makes you a little nervous, and you want to fire up the sage and get your crystals out and everything because you don't know what you're dealing with, but you don't want no drama. You don't want anything negative or bad coming to you. And it was a really good reading. It was just one of those things where he had to tell me something specific that I didn't know that convinced her, that I was talking to her dad, And then it became a really good reading. But I didn't find him at Heaven's Gates. He came to me, and where he came from, it must have been like Paula said, he came from somewhere else. And maybe he saw me or heard me or whatever and knew I was communicating with her and figured that was his time to get a word in, It was just one of those things. It shocked me because it was probably the first time I had done that, and not found someone at the gates and tried to communicate with them.
I could talk a lot about this. I could talk a whole lot about all of this. When I read for people and they are needing me to contact a loved one, I always ask the being and discern whether or not the person has ascended or not. In other words, has that person gone to the light, and have they gone through their life review? I get real specific questions that I ask internally to try to figure out where is the person. Are they still on the earth plane? Are they waiting for the loved one to let them go, or are they dealing with trauma? Try to get into some detail about what's happening with them before I start trying to communicate, because sometimes I find that the vibration, when they're still waiting on the earth, they're waiting for the person to make peace or something along those lines, and they're waiting to have an ascended. The vibration is not pure, and you can feel some of the attachments to the. I feel the attachments that are associated with that being, because they like to stand right next to me, so I'm feeling everything that they're experiencing.
I was about to ask you that, Paula. Like, do you feel like you're being surrounded, like people are coming up trying to make themselves known to you, like right now? Because I kind of feel that way, and it's like, okay, where are these people coming from? I'm like, no. Like, I didn't open the door and say, come on in. I'm just like, we're having a discussion, but it's like I feel like people are coming around. I don't know if it's people on the line waiting to talk. I don't know what that is, but I'm like, hey, I didn't sign up.
Well, they're watching and waiting for their opportunities, but
exactly.
Yeah. And in time. I've been doing this for a long time, so it's taken a long time for me to get to a place where I get to set boundaries with people who have passed, just like I do with people on the earth plane. But that's an important aspect for me as a reader, is to make sure I set those boundaries, and
right.
The beings around me know that. So, if I'm tired or whatnot, it's like, sorry, I can't deal with you right now.
Yeah. And I've always thought I had a gift but didn't know it. And then it was probably about 10 years ago when I started learning about it and developing it. And I think it's been there pretty much my whole life. But once I started learning what I was getting into, and my aunt is clairvoyant, she's the one who kind of put me on my path. And, I took a lot of lessons from her and how to do readings and stuff like that, and that's where it came from with me. I missed out on so many years. I could have been doing readings and things, but I think it just wasn't my time because, it happened when it was supposed to.
Yes. Sounds
I need to jump in, both of you. This is just so fascinating. I wanted to let our listeners know that this is the Viberarian show, and I'm on the line with Marcus Howell and Paula Gore, and we're having quite a lively discussion, and I hate that we only have 20 minutes left in tonight's episode, and I guarantee that we will be coming back to discuss this some more. I do want to shift gears real quick because I did have people who were specifically listening tonight because they wanted to understand about lucid dreaming, and I want to be very clear that what we have been talking about is not lucid dreaming. this is a specific kind of journeying with the astral projection, astral travel, or out-of-body experiences. So let's get into lucid dreaming for this last segment here so we can put some framework around that for people who really want to know. So what I know lucid dreaming to be is when you actually are aware that you are dreaming and that you can start to actually choose it's kind of like choose your own ending adventure. Those books we used to read as teenagers, you begin to actually not just experience the dream plot, but you begin to be able to shift, change perspectives on purpose to different players in the play, so to speak, as this dream is unfolding. Do either of you lucid dream on purpose or on accident? And do you see it as different from astral travel?
I don't think you have enough time in the evening. I'll let Paula go first.
Okay.
Okay, so again, I'm going to vary like I did with astral travel, because my dreams, when I have lucid type dreams, they're more like either visitation dreams, shamanic dreaming, dreaming with my totems, my animal totems, and they will come in when as prompting, and guide me and show me changes about to come. I need to get prepared. And these are the types of dreams that I have that I would call more like journeying dreams, visitation dreams. Sometimes I will have people come in and visit me as well, and are guiding me or giving me messages from time to time. And then just going off on topic a little bit, sometimes when I dream, and this doesn't happen very often, but when it does, God, I love it. Sometimes I leave the earth plane and I will go home and be with my people. And when I do this and I come back in my body, I just feel like, wow, I can just keep going. It's just an amazing experience. So on the topic, I can't say I do. I dream where I can be sort of in control of my dreams. Most of the time, I dream, and half the time I don't remember. Half the time I feel like I'm not really very gifted in this area, but except for experiencing these visitation dreams, which have been absolutely amazing in particularly with the animal totems. So I can get detail in that, but I'm going to let Marcus talk on this because I have a feeling he may have more to share around the specific area.
That's very interesting that you brought it up, Joelle, because for one, I've been doing this for like years. However, I never had a technical name for it. So until you just gave that description a moment ago, I didn't know what to call it. So I'm glad that you gave me the breakdown on that. And that's exactly what it is. It's almost like you're aware that you're dreaming, but you have some control. You're one of the authors. You can write pretty much what's going to happen, and you feel like you're setting things up, you're switching things up. You're not always in control, but you have a lot of control as opposed to most dreams when you don't have any control at all. And I've experienced that. As a matter of fact, I want to say not every night, but I'm going to say at least 2 or 3 times a week I'll experience that. And it'll come from me, I guess, not being fully asleep because I don't really deep sleep that often. And a lot of times when I'm just laying there and my eyes are like wide awake and I feel like I'm wide awake, that's when it usually happens. And there are some times when I know I'm laying in my bed. It's not that I'm astral planing or I'm projecting anywhere. I feel like I'm dreaming, and I know I'm dreaming. And I'll say to myself, well, I'm going to go outside and get in the hot tub. and I'll literally go outside, get in the hot tub, and then it's like some kind of cartoon happens or something to the fact where I know I'm dreaming, and I'm like, this can't be real, you know. It's one of those things where I kind of laugh at it. It's interesting and it's funny, and it's so strange because like the more and more we have this conversation and the deeper it gets, I keep finding myself like I'm sitting in my dining room and I keep like seeing these shadows and I'm looking up like, what's that? And I'm looking in the other direction and I'm like, okay, I'm about to burn some sage in here because this conversation is getting really deep.
We're attracting a lot of psychic energy on this conversation. Now, I do really know that I have done a little bit more personal work and research in terms of lucid dreaming because I think that I learned it as a technique to manage nightmares and reoccurring things that you can actually turn around if you're being chased. We all have the dreams that are kind of symbolic of our subconscious, and then some of us have dreams that are a little more either precognition or past life visions or more psychic in nature, but that it's a tool that is used for people who do experience like nightmares and night terrors and things like that, where you can learn how to sleep at a lighter state of, I can't remember if it's alpha, beta, theta, which level it is, but there is a lot of information on YouTube where you can listen to things like hypnosis sessions that will take you to just that, what they call the twilight, which is neither awake nor fully asleep, and that you can purposely set your intention to lucid dream. You can set that intention at night to say, when I dream, I will become aware in my dream, and I will have full control and power and awareness. And just even stating that as an intention can open up the ability for you then to have some modicum, again, of control of your role in the play that unfolds in your head during your dream time. So there are things called, if you want to research after the show, wake back to sleep or wake back to bed method, which is a way that you can set intentions for yourself. And you can, they'll have you set your alarm actually at a phase based on however many hours you might have been asleep, and that you'll just turn off your alarm and allow yourself to fall back asleep, but not all the way deep back in. And you can start to do exercises and journaling exercises the next day as part of this whole lucid dreaming experience. So I would definitely recommend to people that you can get out there. And one of the methods they say is to look at your hand in your dream. If you and I can't remember if you're supposed to be able to see your hand solid or if you see your hand not solid. I'll have to research it a little, and I'll definitely follow up next week. But there's a way to know whether you're in the dream or in reality by looking at your own hand in front of your face. And I will be sharing posts and links about all of this on the Viberarian Facebook page. I do invite you to pop over there, join the community, because this is the kind of stuff that is really just the tip of the iceberg, and there's so much more that we could get into. So that'll be a way for me to continue to share information with you on an ongoing basis. I can see myself Googling for several hours from now on based on some of the things we've been talking about this evening that I need to get some clarification on. So we're down to our last 10 minutes of the show, and so I would want to I know. If either of you have just briefly some bit of advice based on everything that we've talked about this evening for those who are either encountering the astral plane or lucid dreaming. Oh, and I did forget, I think we'll have to split this off into the next show because there is some issue of sleep paralysis, which is quite a whole nother thing that people experience. So I will table that for another show discussion. For those of you that have tuned in for that, we'll follow up with this next week. But do either of you have any last-minute advice, wisdom, cautions, instructions? I'll start with you, Paula.
Well, I think Marcus probably might be better than me on both subjects, actually. Marcus, how about you jump in?
Oh, cool. Okay. I was going to say definitely look into getting crystals. One of the things my aunt shared with me, my aunt, I call her JJ. Her name's Johnny Fiore. She's a very, very, very talented clairvoyant and sensitive. And she shared with me before I started learning anything that I needed to get a smoky quartz and a tourmaline crystal. And one is for grounding and the other is for protection. And those two crystals together were like the first things I went to purchase, once I started reading books and learning and taking classes and everything. So those two really helped me. You need to be grounded. And everybody has something that they do that grounds them. Some people walk on the grass barefoot. Some people eat chocolate. Everybody has something that grounds them, that makes them feel normal. Always find a way to ground yourself and see what works for you, because that's how you astral plane and get back to yourself. That's how you, keep your clear head as opposed to, swallowing whatever you're being fed, from other spirits or whatever. Always ground yourself and protect yourself. And I think if you start with that, you really can't go wrong.
I would concur.
Well, that's
completely. Grounding is the basis for doing any type of spiritual practice, new spiritual practice, is do the things that ground you, connect you with the earth, and stones definitely do that. There may be other things such as aromatherapy also can be a grounding tool for those that are sensitive to smell. Lavender in particular can be calming and assist in the process of relaxation to deepen in the process. Music, possibly very sedative music, could help induce the states of relaxation. Native American flute music in particular may be very calming and help you begin to drop down into these lower levels of deeper levels of consciousness that you're trying to attain.
Yeah.
And definitely being on the ground, I think, helps a great deal. If you are at all feeling either afraid or nervous, then you want to be able to connect with those things spiritually that help you feel connected to your light, to your divine nature, and whatever your spiritual practice may be. And then if you're trying to explore what that spiritual practice is, then listen quietly to your own guidance, and you may begin to tune in to hear possibly the angelic presences, and possibly there may be ancestors for some people, and ascended masters as well for others that may be connecting you with your divine light.
This is just the most fascinating. I would say this is just great. I'm on seventh heaven right now because I'm getting to talk with people about things that may seem unusual. If you're listening in this evening, there have been several people listening through the phone line and through our website. I am so thankful that you are here sharing in this with us, and we will be back next week for part 2 of this conversation. So I'll go ahead and schedule that now with the two of you. If you would not mind coming back next Thursday, I'll definitely remind you. But I want to get into a little bit more with the additional tip of the iceberg kind of things, because we didn't even get to walk-ins. We really didn't get into sleep paralysis, and there seems to be a whole lot more on the astral realm that is there for us to talk about. So, and then we'll do another episode on near-death experiences, Paula.
Yes. I would love to be able to do that. Next Thursday evening, I am going to be teaching chakra toning at the Georgia Dowsers meeting. It's going to be from like 7 to 9, so I won't be here to plug in. I'm so sorry. I would love to be here.
Well, what I will do is I will get with both of you, and we will schedule this directly to continue this particular conversation, because I do have some other topics lined up for everybody. Now, for people who are interested in contacting either one of you for private reading services, Paula, how can people reach you?
I'm at 404-594-0062.
Okay, and Marcus, for people who want to reach out for you for private services?
Well, the easiest way is Facebook. I have a Clairvoyant Marcus Howell page, and a lot of times I'll get requests through there, and then I'll give them a number that they can call, and, we can do readings over the phone. If they're in the Atlanta area, I don't mind, traveling to do a reading. To me, they're just as good in person as they are over the phone, but I think in person is just a little bit better, and I do a lot of traveling, so sometimes I've done readings in California and Michigan, which is where I'm from, and New York and Florida and stuff like that. So it all depends on the schedule, the time to set up, who it is, whenever. But that's the best way to get in touch with me, Clairvoyant Marcus Howell on Facebook, and I also have a Twitter, and any way to try to find me on any social media, you just type in Marvel72, Marvel 72, and that's me.
Okay. Excellent. And I can say that not only am I a friend, but I've been a client of both of you on different times, and it's actually been quite life-changing each time. Both of you have given me very wonderful information from my spiritual guides and angels, and from knowledge of my past lives, Paula, as well. And I'm really excited that you two of you kind of got to experience that with each other this evening as you're having the conversation. Now, coming up on new episodes of the Viberarian Show, every Thursday night we're on a quest, and I will be talking about astral projection and lucid dreaming part 2. I am going to have an episode about Akashic Records, and I have an Akashic Record reader who is quite amazing that is going to be a special guest on that show. And then I have past life regression as a topic, and I think I'm kind of just working my way through the alphabet with the A's. I think we're spending a lot of time because we did astrology last week. So you can find past episodes of the Viberarian Show, as well as the Psychic Inside Show, which happens every Tuesday, on my YouTube channel. And you will have to search for The Viberary on YouTube. That's Viberary. I don't have a channel name yet because I need more subscribers before YouTube will let me claim my little piece of their real estate with my brand. So if you click on over there and subscribe to my channel, if you join my Facebook community at The Viberarian, you can keep up to date with all of the shows and activities and classes and retreats that are going to be happening. On Tuesday nights, the show is the Psychic Inside Show, and that is where I feature every week someone who is a psychic who has discovered their gifts and abilities, and they come online to share with us that deeply personal story of how they came to understand who they are. And so we spend about 2 hours in that conversation, and we also have opportunity for our callers to receive complimentary mini readings during the last half hour of the program, and those have been quite interesting for us to listen to as they have happened in live space on the air. That's quite interesting as well. So this has been the Viberarian Show, and I'm Joelle, and I just thank you so much for spending your time with me having these conversations. You could be doing any number of other things, but if you took the time out to listen online or to call, I'm very much grateful for your energy and attention set this way. I hope that you have a wonderful week and that you have all of the blessings and things that you can possibly hold, and that you have less stress and problems. And Paula, Marcus, thank you so much for coming this evening. I truly appreciate your wisdom and contribution.
Thank you, Joelle. It's been
Thank
great.
you, Joelle. And nice to meet you, Paula.
And you too, Marcus. I really enjoyed being with you.
So, all thank you so much. This has been the Viberarian Show. Namaste.